So I can tell you this, being in California at that point, 10 years, everything is going fantastic. I'm feeling good. I'm looking good. It's 2010 now, right? And then one day I get a call from my mom and I could tell that there was something a little bit different in her voice. And she said, Ty, went to the doctor and they told me I have cancer. And at that point, or I should say up until that point, I never had a family member who went through something like that in my adult years. My grandmother, she went through health issues, but I was much younger at that during that time. So cancer is a word that you hear and you read about it, but until it affects you personally, it's probably just kind of like, oh, that's unfortunate for that person. But wow, did it hit me? It hit me so hard that I said, okay. So she told me when her surgery was going to be to remove the cancer, and it was about like a 2 week process from the point that she called me. So I said, okay, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not staying here in LA. So then I just jumped on a flight 2 days later and said I'm going to go spend some time with my mom. So at that point, everything changed. Nothing else mattered. I didn't care about California. I didn't care about working out. Although I did work out while I was there, that wasn't my priority. My main priority was I have one mom and she now has cancer and I have to figure out what the next steps are going to be for her. So very, very fortunately enough, she had the surgery and the doctor said, okay, it looks like we have removed the cancer, but you never can tell. So at this point, she's not going to be able to do too much activity. She's not going to be able to lift things that are too heavy. But what you're going to need to do, as someone who's going to be taking care of her, is think about the nutrition, think about what you can give her to help speed up the recovery. And then from there, we'll see if the cancer ever comes back. So, and I was really happy to hear that from a doctor, because prior to that, it seems like, you're pretty much helpless when it comes to cancer.
Right.
So we went back home. And at that point I decided, okay, I got to figure something out, So I immediately went to the internet. There was no doctor I could call. No one in my family is in the medical profession at that point. So I said, or asked Google, okay, what types of foods, do you give someone who had cancer, things of that nature. And what continuously came up was fruits and vegetables. Like they are the essence of life. Like that's all that came up, which is surprising to me because I was like the biggest steak eater in the world. And again, at that point, 2010, I'm looking good, I'm feeling good. I'm thinking that I have the best diet in the world. Well, I started making her green smoothies because that's everything kept coming back to that. I started making her green smoothies. I started looking at the different foods that she was eating prior and, kind of like put her on more of a plant-based type of diet.
Mm-hmm.
We did this for a matter of 2 months. Within that 2 months time, she would have doctor visits. She would have friends that would come by to the house to take a look at her. For me, I couldn't see it as quickly, but people who don't see her every day, they look at her and they're like, wow, I mean, Mary, you're losing weight. Like, what are you doing? I know you're not working out. And she's like, yeah, well, Ty's just been making me these green smoothies. He's been making me these meals. And she ended up in 2 months without being able to hit the gym, without being able to do any exercising. She lost 50 pounds.
Wow.
So at that point, yeah, it's incredible. So at that point, I said, okay, nutrition is like, there's no doubt about it. So then at that point, I said, okay. Well, people were asking me, they're like, so, how'd you do it? Like, what are you giving her? So I'd write down recipes for people. And I realized that, okay, if I had to go through this, other people, I'm sure, are going through this or had to go through this. And I don't want anyone to ever receive a phone call. If they have to receive a phone call like that, but if they don't have to, if I can help someone else not receive a phone call from their mom like that, then that's what I want to do. So I started a YouTube channel, and those videos are still on YouTube as of today, 2012. I'm in the kitchen making green smoothies, not necessarily knowing everything about what I'm doing, but knowing enough and confident enough to know that these worked for her. So I know that they would work for other people. So that's how the whole nutrition aspect really kicked in for me, because it was no longer about me any longer. From birth to 2010, it was all about Tyshawn. From then, this is about my mom now, because like I said, I only have one. So I got to make sure she's good.
No doubt.